Good afternoon and welcome back to our fourth installment live stream video of She is a Veteran. We are joined today by Andrea Norton, who is our fourth person to actually be featured in our She is a Veteran campaign here in Michigan. And we're also joined by Erica Hoover, who is our Women Veterans and Special Populations Coordinator. Welcome, ladies.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, as I've always done, I love being able to host these videos. I am Zanetta Adams, the director of the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, and I am a woman veteran. I served in the U.S. Army, and we are talking with Andrea Norton today, an Air Force veteran, and we forgive you, Andrea, to talk a little bit about her story as we've launched her She is a Veteran video today, which hopefully you all will review. If you haven't viewed it already, you'll look at it today. To get to know Andrea, and hopefully women veterans out there will be able to identify with some of her story and know that it's okay for you to come out and identify as a veteran as well. And some of you all who may not be a female veteran or may not understand what's going on, you will get a sense of what it's like to be a woman veteran in Andrea's shoes. So Andrea, what's going on? How exciting is this today, right?
It's really exciting. I'm just glad to be amongst women veterans in this platform. It feels very relaxed, like I'm with my sisters, and so I really do appreciate what you're doing.
Well, we appreciate you as well. And Erica, so you worked really hard on developing to making sure that the women veterans who are featured in these She is a Veteran's voices are heard alongside Andrew Robichaud. We're going to give a shout out to Andrew Robichaud, who did amazing work on these videos. But Erica, you worked very closely with all of these women, including Andrea, on this. What was that like?
Oh, it's been a wild ride. I mean, I have to say, in the beginning of this, I knew there was a need for this campaign. And I knew that all of these women that we've chosen are, they're amazing. And I think through this process, they've become friends to me as well. And I see bits of myself in these stories. My biggest hope is that other people will as well. And I think that they will. And so it's been, it's just been a really rewarding and amazing time. And I've been able to make some great friends out of it as well. You can't beat that for a job.
Yeah, I was only trying to help you out when I filled out your paperwork. And so it was a little out of my comfort zone to be doing this, but I'm glad that you gave me that gentle nudge. I think it's important.
Well, Erica can definitely be persuasive for sure. She was, if she could have gone door to door to get folks to tell their story, she probably would have, because it's so important that women veterans share their story. And I don't know if people realize how important it is. Andrea, tell us a little bit about your time in service. So you were in the Air Force. When did you serve? How long did you serve?
I joined the Air Force a month after I graduated high school. As you know, it was kind of my short-sighted act of rebellion. After I turned 18, I was like, I need to see the world. I need to get out of my hometown. I was born and raised in Bay City, and I wanted to see more, and I saw this as an opportunity to do so, and something that nobody would have expected me to do in the first place. That was appealing to me. But I joined, like I said, in '98, and it was a very different military then. And then and I was an imagery analyst by trade, and so in the intelligence career field. And after 9/11, everything about my service changed. I mean, my job and what we were asked to do and stuff. And so I had a deployment, my first enlistment, which I was at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia. And then I deployed to Saudi Arabia for Operation Southern Watch. And then I took a special duty assignment as a military instructor teaching an analysis course, and I was stationed in San Diego, which is a very different environment for an Air Force person to be in. There's about 8 of us there, probably. But I was a mobile instructor. So I had a very unique experience in traveling to different sites to teach a course. I even went underway on a Navy ship for 2 weeks. So I have more sea time than some of the Navy veterans I've worked with. But it gave me, I mean, I got to see so much of the world and really see how actually similar people are. And when I did my second deployment in Afghanistan, that was actually something that I took from that was, you're thousands of miles away from anything that's and in a culture that's very different from your own. And yet I still remembered, laughing and doing some of the same things with some of the locals that I did as a kid, going to refugee camps and, the kids running and playing around and playing the same things that I remember playing when I was a kid and stuff. And so that really stuck with me, just how much more similar we all are, yet we tend to focus on the ways in which we're different. So it was a unique experience. It really was.
Well, it seems like you had a very impressive resume in the military. You even were dabbling in Erica's lane of the Navy. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you've continued to serve and advocate for women veterans, and I think one of those big steps is doing this She is a Veteran video that you did. But what are some of the other things you've been doing since you got out of the military?
Well, I got out of the military and I went right into college. I left San Diego and moved to East Lansing to attend Michigan State University. And, I had a very specific, very narrow idea of what I wanted to do. I was going to get out of the military. I was going to go back to school, get an international relations or public policy degree, and then go back into the intelligence career field as a contractor. So very much tunnel vision on that. And I had a really difficult transition, honestly. When you're given your identity, when the military is telling you this is who you are. I was Staff Sergeant Norton when I left the military. I was used to, knowing what I wore every day, having so many decisions made for me. And then I got to Michigan State and I was completely at a loss. I didn't know how to be a full-time student. I didn't know how not to be Sergeant Norton. And so it was a really challenging time, honestly. And I was really grateful that I was able to connect with one of my professors who was a veteran, because really I was very desperate for connection. I was really struggling. And I think when just being around other veterans, sometimes when you're feeling that way, so you just don't feel like you're the only one, that was vital. And it encouraged me to actively seek that out. And I joined Student Veterans of America. So just to, and it was awkward because I felt a lot older than so many of my classmates, because I was, I was like, 10, as a non-traditional student. But at the same time, even a veteran that was much younger than me, we're still veterans and we still speak the same language. And it was still that vital connection I needed. I also was fortunate to participate in the Mission Continues Fellowship Program. And that was really beneficial. It gave me a way to focus my leadership skills that I learned in the military and really build upon them and kind of connect with my community more. So I did my fellowships. I actually chose Michigan State to try to increase some of their veteran services on campus. So that was a big part of it. But then, an even bigger part, this was the first time I was able to actually be completely open about who I was, that I didn't have to look over my shoulder and worry about getting kicked out of the military, because, as a member of the LGBT community, that was very frowned upon. When I was serving for the full 8.5 years, it was under the don't ask, don't tell policy. So that's that was a really hard time because I saw people get kicked out of the military. I saw that be something that people had to hide. You know, I don't think you can fully show up in anything that you do when such a big part of you has to remain hidden. And you know, that was a struggle. You know, I was in my late 20s and I'm figuring out who I was. And the part of that, the time that most people do that, was the time I spent in the military having to hide that. So it presented a lot of challenges, but I tried to really get involved with that type of advocacy work, and you know, joined Michigan Pride and volunteered at the festival, and just tried to really get involved in the community, in the LGBT community in Lansing. So I tried to do both, like try to bring veteran experiences to that community, and tried to bring LGBTQ experiences to the veteran community, because they're both a part of who I am. So I thought that was a way to kind of bridge that.
Well, just a lot of what you're saying, I think that many of us can relate, especially if you've spent any amount of time in service. Just going back a little bit to some of your conversation about coming out of the military. And, I've heard so many different stories of people who, they've never really had to apply for a rental, to rent an apartment, or they don't know how to do some of these basic things after, and they're full on adults. And then you come out. I remember most of my civilian clothing was like tan and army green. And I didn't realize it at first. I mean, I guess that was just my preference, but then you come out and you're just this kind of, you're this one or two color person. And so you have to change it up to try to add some colors to your life and some flavor to your life. So I definitely understand that. I did not have to go through serving during, having to worry about the don't ask, don't tell policies. But I will say that, after hearing stories from my other sister veterans, it definitely was a difficult time for you. I'm sure, just even based on what you were saying. And so you being able to tell your story about that is truly inspiring, I think, for other women veterans in the state and whoever else may be watching from across the country, to be able to see that, you can find your voice and you can find your courage even after the military, because you didn't have your full voice in the military. And so I love that you're using your voice in this platform, even though it probably was a scary thing for you to do. But we definitely appreciate you. And so to talk to Erica, I know that Erica is a big proponent of making sure that we're looking at that LGBTQ plus community, and we at the MBAA are making sure that any veteran who served is getting treated with the utmost respect and dignity that they have. And so what are your thoughts on some of the things that Andrea had to say, Erica?
Yeah, I really relate. Honestly, I served during Don't Ask, Don't Tell as well. It's showing my internet's unstable, so hopefully I don't break up too much. But I served also during that time, and I was older when I joined. So I was 24 when I went into the Navy, and I had to go right back into the closet, really. So I think when you don't bring your full self, you're not able to, you're in the military 24/7. That's who you are. And when you can't bring your full self into your job, it really restricts and it hurts the work that you're doing every single day. I served actually during, and then I was there when it was repealed, and it was like a night and day difference. For me, it felt like the weight of the world had come off my shoulders, and I was actually able to talk about my life and what I was doing on the weekends, and, like who I loved or who I cared about at the time. And I was able to really like embrace that part of me. And then I was actually, wrench turner of the year. And, I was able to do really well and to succeed. And I think it's super important because, I still bring some of that with me every single day, that hiding that little bit of yourself. I'm super proud of who I am. I'm super proud, that I have an amazing life. Like, I'm really proud of those but it's still really hard when you go into certain situations. It kind of traumatizes you a little bit because you're told you're not a good person, or you know, you have to hide those things. So it's definitely something that's really important to me, that all women and men, everybody in Michigan, that they understand that they have an advocate at the MVAA at the state, that they have somebody at the federal level in Andrea, and I know they do at other VAs. And I know it's hard and it's really scary. And we have a lot of work to do. I won't deny that for 1 minute, but it's definitely something that I'm committed to working on. And I can't do it alone, but it's really important to me. And I know it's important to you as well, Director Adams. So.
And something you said really resonate, like the amount of mental management that has to occur when, like the amount of mental space that you have to use to figure out who you're talking to, what you're saying, is anybody around, and to speak in coded language, and that takes a lot of mental energy, and that mental energy could be better served actually executing the mission. And something that stuck with me that I still promote heavily in any environment I'm in, it's something that I learned as far as leadership was concerned, is that if you take care of your people, they will take care of the mission. And I think that's what I try to embody, because I believe in it and I see it in action. When people don't have to worry about their basic needs getting met, they're able to thrive. They're able to go above and beyond. And you get a loyal, dedicated workforce when their needs are met. And at the very basic level, you need to feel like you can show up and that you can have your identity affirmed and respected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree that if you served and you put on the uniform and you took the oath and you've taken the steps to serve, then then you need to be treated with respect, and respect in every single avenue and every single thing that you're going through. And so that, I know that that's what's being pushed at the VA level. It's something that we talk about frequently at the MVAA level, just making sure that, all persons, regardless of what you think or agree with or not, should be treated with respect because they served our country honorably. And so I know that we have people out here watching and may watch reruns on this that may be military sexual trauma survivors. And while I don't necessarily, you don't have to go into the story right now or the details, because we do have that video that we want everybody to watch on your story. I do want to talk about those folks. How do you come out of that shell? So I dealt with my own issues. I was one of the people that went into the military because of a sexual assault. So it wasn't a military sexual assault, but I wanted to be strong and I wanted to be confident. So I guess I was running. Maybe we were all running from something, right? But I was running, and so I ran to the military. And then, while I'm very thankful that I didn't, go through a sexual assault in the military, I did, I did endure sexual harassment. A lot of times we brush those things under the rug as, okay, just get through what you need to do and move on to another day. But that kind of heightened my anxiety level after having come into the military to be strong and then having to deal with, hopefully nothing happens while I'm here. How did you come out of that headspace of what happened to you and what occurred to you in the military to get to the strong person that you are now?
Well, my story isn't that dissimilar to yours, because I had things occur prior to the military. A lot of what I incurred in the military was a lot of harassment, gender-based discrimination, just really invalidating, thinking that I shouldn't be there. I shouldn't even be in the uniform. I've had that said to my face. And that was in 99. It wasn't like so long ago. It was, and so those were the things that were very prevalent. The notion that I felt like I needed to work twice as hard to get even just half the respect. And I think that made it really difficult. I mean, I refer to it as an unraveling, because I think that's kind of what happened when I was transitioning out of the military, because I I did it on my own because I didn't know where to go. And I think in doing that and really having to, I mean, honestly, having to face what I was a part of that might not have, that might not have been in the same value system as I have now, like really looking at some of the experiences I've had and really having to reconcile it. Because I think it's easy to judge your past through the lens of today with your wisdom of today, but you are wiser because you went through that. So you did the best with what you knew at the time. And so I think for me, that was really helpful and really trying to reframe it what I did. It's all a part of who I am. It's, I can't parcel out just the good pieces. It's all a part of what I experienced. And that's why I always find it interesting when people ask, oh, you were in for 8 years. Oh, did you like it? Like that's a really hard question to answer because, then I just put it back. Well, did you like the last 8 years of your life? It's the same thing. You go through so many different experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so it all gets woven into who you are. If that.
Yeah, and I would say for some of those folks, it was one of those things that for me, just dealing with what happened, which helped make my mind up to go to the military, and then the stuff that I dealt with while I was in, plus the physical injury. It took me a long time to reconcile that I was a person that probably should be seeking therapy, right? And it's not because I'm crazy, which you ask my husband, maybe he might say that, but it's not because of that. It's just the fact that you have to find a healing mechanism, and so I'm talking to those folks who are out there viewing that people on the outside, they will look at you as the strong individual. This person has it all together, right? They just have, oh my gosh, they have everything lined up. But at the end of the day, when they go back to their quiet space and in their corner, they're still rectifying and trying to reconcile with all the past 8 years or the past 15 years or whatever the case is of the things that happened, and they're doing it alone. Because we are taught in the military to stand up for others, to be strong in our own might, and to not be about self. And then if you already have that mentality inbred in you, like it's not about you, then you never take yourself seriously and you never put yourself out there to get the tools that you need for self-care. So I know that you work at the VA, you're a Women Veterans Coordinator, you are an advocate and a proponent for getting the help that you need. And so I encourage people out there to make sure that you don't look at mental health resources as a negative, that you don't approach it and say, oh my gosh, I got to go see a counselor. Like people are going to look at me and they're going to think badly about me, because I think I had that in my mind for such a long time. Did you struggle with that? Either.
I think there is a lot of stigma around it. I think I'm happy and hopeful that a lot of that I see, kind of getting broken down in both the military and outside of the military, but it still is present. And I think exactly based on what you said is that there's this notion that, it's a sign of weakness. And I'm like, I went into social work and into mental health specifically because I saw the value in it. I was saved by therapy. I mean, it was beneficial because, I mean, why not have somebody that's trained to ask you better questions? That's really what it's about, is like it's quicker, it's more efficient. And in the military, that's what it was about, is about being as efficient as possible. Why would you want to suffer alone when you can do something more efficient about it? And honestly, to have the level of insight that I have about myself in the past, like that's invaluable to me. That informs so much of what I do, because I don't have to react to everything in a negative way. Like it gives me that pause, that just that brief moment of just taking a step and then realizing, you know, just having a different perspective too.
When I think people forget or don't even realize that, you know, that the things that we experience in our lives drive and dictate our actions, even to the smallest things as to how close you're standing to someone in the grocery store. And I mean, I say that because, you know, right now we don't want to be standing close to people in the grocery store.
I hope we never go back. I don't want anybody
Exactly.
that's closer than 6 feet to me.
Exactly. That works. That works for me, right? But I think it dictates. It dictates where we park in a parking lot. And we don't realize that these things are impacting every single thing in our lives. And if we haven't talked to someone about redirecting how we look at a situation, or how we blame ourselves for a situation, or how we interact with others because of a situation, then we will continue to make our areas of life toxic. That, I guess that's the best thing I can say that. So,
and the thing that I love right now at the VA is that, you know, some people, you know, might need to build up to the point of being able to talk to a therapist or to really deal with their trauma. And so I like, you know, thinking of it in terms of scaffolding, you know, and right now the VA, they're really changing a lot of the culture and how healthcare is delivered. I mean, we have the whole health initiative, which is about wellness. It's about promoting wellness and really putting you in the center of like what is important to you. Like, I've never had a doctor, and you know, prior to this ever ask me that question and start from there in terms of my health and wellness. Like, instead of being disease focused or like what you have to do or what you should do, it's what is important to you and how can we collaborate and improve your wellness so you can get to that goal. That to me is a better feeling. That's collaborative. That's making me the expert on my body and somebody joining and collaborating with me on how to better take care of it. That feels better to me. And just knowing that the VA is a place that you could go to a yoga class, Tai Chi, battlefield acupuncture. I mean, people do not look at the VA as a place that you could get acupuncture. You know, just different holistic services, and you know, recognizing that you can build a whole lot of services around wellness that actually will promote better health outcomes. I mean, that's to me, and if you're changing how healthcare is delivered, you know, there's a lot of women veterans that might have had a bad experience at the VA many years ago and have never come back.
yeah.
If the way in which healthcare is delivered and it's really truly patient-centered and putting you in the driver's seat, that's a big difference than probably what you experienced in the past. And I think too, for the LGBTQ community too, who has experienced a lot of discrimination in the healthcare industry historically. When I talk about whole health, like it's not like a separate program. To me, it's a whole cultural shift. And those are, I think, by promoting those type of things, that's how we get those veterans to give it a try again, to see what's different, to see that it's not your father's VA. That's what I always say.
Well, and I think if we think about it in terms of, you know, we need food to eat, right? And so we go to the grocery store to get the groceries. And if we have a bad experience at the grocery store, do we stop going to get groceries?
No.
No. So I mean, I think that, you know, it can't be, you know, one or two bad experiences in a huge organization, you know, what is it, the largest budget in the US pretty much. It should not drive our decisions as to not getting the care we need. I think a lot of times, I'm just going to speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. Looking for excuses, right, to get out of stuff. Like, yeah, well, that was a bad experience. I don't need to go back there. They don't need to see me. But no, I agree with you. And I think that, you know, as we're talking to women veterans and we're talking about women veterans, we should also talk about, you know, identity. And we should talk about the reasons why I think we're starting to come out of this stage. We're doing more and more of these types of things. And there's so many women veterans organizations and groups that are helping to promote identity in women veterans. But it's still, we have a long way to go with women. Once we get out of the military, we're like, okay, I'm done with that. Now I'm moving on to taking care of my kids or being with my spouse or moving on to a job. And we don't revisit that part of our past anymore to promote that as a prideful thing in the position that we serve. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, I wanna thank you personally, because it was a Wink retreat that I went to, that I went dual purpose as a woman veteran and as a program manager who wanted to to organize my own type of retreats. But what I got out of that was how valuable it was to connect with my other sisters in service, to just be in a group of women veterans. You don't get to experience that. If you go to bigger veteran events, a lot of times they seem to mirror your experience in the military. You're like one of like a handful. And so to just be in the space of nothing but women veterans and just laughing, talking. It wasn't like, it was like meeting a bunch of new friends. And I saw the value in that. And I think a lot of veterans still have this misnomer that it's a pie. If I take my slice, someone else goes without. And it's like, no, if you have your slice and the other person has a slice, we can get more pie. like they will provide us more pie. Like we need to use the services or they go away. I mean, I've seen things close. I've seen clinics, close because they weren't utilized.
Yep.
So I think the more veterans that we can get enrolled in, the better services that occur. It demonstrates the need.
Yeah. And we have 44,000 women veterans here in Michigan. We have quite a significant number. I think every day that we're working to spread information, we're touching and getting, familiar with another woman veteran out there, which is great, because I remember when I started, you mentioned Wink. And so when I started doing the work with Wink in 2014, it was like pulling teeth to find women veterans to come to events. It's like, hey, here's a free retreat, here's a free peer resource event, here's this thing that you don't have to pay for, and trying to get women to come was like, oh my gosh. But, I think, that more women, it's word of mouth really, but more women are coming out of the shadows to say, yep, it's kind of like, yeah, I served, on that first time. And then it's like, oh yeah, I served, it's, and to be able to see that confidence level when women take that first step to kind of be engaged. I know, Erica had a similar story about her hesitancy to kind of step out and do some of those things. And you can share your own story, Erica, if you want. But, we see that time and time again.
Yeah, I definitely, I cringed a lot. I worked for Alyssa Geyer, who was a state representative in Oregon, and she used to introduce me as one of her staff members that was a veteran. And I just used to cringe every single time I heard that, because I had just been, I was pretty fresh still out of the military. And there were so many things that I didn't want veteran to mean to me, I guess. So, the experiences that I had, well, some of them were fantastic, and I came away with lifelong friends. And, I was pretty successful in the 4 years that I served. I still went through a lot of really tough things. And so, I never thought of myself as a veteran, and I didn't want that attention. I didn't think I deserved that attention. And then I ended up working for MVAA. I went to a Wink, I think it was the Muskegon, the mayor of Muskegon declared it as Women Veterans Day in Muskegon at the Silver Sides Museum. And it was the first time I'd ever been in a room full of women veterans. It was all women veterans. And it blew my mind, because I was the only woman in my shop. Like, and where I worked, I was one of very few. And so it kind of threw me off a little bit. And I felt so comfortable and safe and welcome. Just learn, it's been a learning experience. It's not something that I've ever reached out for with a community like that. But I feel safe every time I'm in a room full of, my sisters. It doesn't matter when or how they served or where they served. We're all we all share so many things in common, even though our journeys are very different. So it's, it's been a wild ride, that's for sure, the last probably 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and I would say that there is this sisterhood camaraderie, whether you join a military, sorority, fraternity, or whatever, I think we're part of our own sorority, fraternity, just because we serve. We're part of that 1%, and we can have each other's backs. And I will say, I love my veteran brothers. I married one. He served, we served at the same time. But there is, I would go to these retreats a lot when I was dealing with my injury and trying to come up, and I'd be the only female, and it would be great. I had great conversations with my brothers, and but it just wouldn't be the same conversations as when I started having those conversations with my sister veterans. And so there's power in those numbers. I'm a part of the story to say that it was because of other women veterans that I started to come out of my shell of depression and really started to pull myself up by the bootstraps and get on with living and not just die in the chair as I thought that was going to happen. And I've heard other stories of women that said that was the spark that helped them to get back on their feet as well, being in the room and in the space with other women veterans. So I would encourage those folks out there who are feeling like you're alone to get connected with some of these groups out there. You can contact us at 1-800-MISHVET. That's 1-800-642-4838. You would get connected to Erica. She can get you connected to a lot of these different resources that are women veterans specific out there. And then you can also go to the VA and you would be dealing with folks like Andrea, or some of those other women veteran coordinators out there who understand the plight, who are women veterans themselves, and they're working towards this common goal of bringing you into the fold and bringing you into the forefront to get the care that you need. So, I'm often encouraged. I'm encouraged by this platform of She is a Veteran. I'm encouraged by stories like yours, Andrea, to keep going. And I have to say that it is because of veterans. It's because of women veterans, and it's because of veterans in general that I keep going. This is what keeps me going. Your stories, your moving forward, getting the help that you need. And to be honest, we're not perfect. I don't know any human who is perfect. So we're not gonna reach everybody or be able to help everybody with every single thing. But doggone it, you have 3 hearts on this call who I know are working hard to make sure we reach as many as possible, to help as many as possible. So I want to thank you for being open and vulnerable to share your story with, I'm going to say America, because everybody.
I know this is the most public I've ever been. Nobody would say I was shy. Who knows me? I'm sure. But I'm always the one that's trying to prop everyone else up and get them to share their stories and whatnot. So I thought I really need to lead it by example.
Yeah, we can all be that.
There's power there.
And so anybody on this call, honestly, if you have a phone and you have a video opportunity, share your stories of how you're a veteran. It can be a few seconds on your Twitter, on your Facebook. Just record something in honor of this She is a Veteran, just to say, I'm the veteran, and I served in this and
what I love.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I love is that my 3 nephews and niece, like, I'm the first veteran that they ever met. So they default to a woman veteran when they think of veterans. I just want the rest of the world to do the same, or to at least recognize that we're veterans as well.
Yeah, we serve too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Director Adams, there's quite a bit of hearts and likes and some comments on the Facebook Live. Can I do a few shout outs real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So Heidi's on, Heidi Zeller is one of our awesome women veterans she's always around and such a great support. She's been commenting throughout here. Really, like, I think that she resonates a lot with your story, Andrea. And I think you might know her. Randy, He said, I have heard bring your whole self a couple of times in our ERGs, and people are happier when they can bring their whole selves. Wonderful message. Thank you. You know, the VA posted, that's fantastic. It's always nice to have more support from the VA. Michelle says, thank you, Andrea. Heidi, never one other female veteran to feel alone ever. It's her mission. Wink gave her that drive. And Bethany, some of my favorite ladies. Hi, Bethany. Thank you. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining. You know, we really appreciate all your comments and likes, and hope that you share this and our stories as well, so this gets out.
And start sharing your stories. You know, the world needs to hear your stories. You need to have those nieces and nephews who the first view that they have of a veteran is a female, so that when they are seeing a female veteran parked in a parking spot they don't just assume that they're the spouse of a veteran. But thank you so much for joining us today, Andrea.
Thank you
for all you do. And everybody, please check this story out. Share it on your social media, Twitter, whatever. Let's make sure these stories are being heard. So thank you
so much for the opportunity. Really, it's been a blessing.
Thanks. All right.
Thanks, Andrea.
Stay tuned. We'll have another installment in a couple of months of our She is a Veteran Next Person. But for now, let's go ahead and show Andrea some love by sharing her story and watching her story as well. Thanks.
Thank you so much.